Greetings, Culture Warriors. This is Jeff Vieira, author of Culture is Everything, and your host for this Dispatch from the Front. Ooh, it'll be a good day when we can get back to some happier business stories. But today, from our pandemic riot file here, I've got another one for you. Allie's Donuts sparks controversy by ending police discount. This is from the Associated Press. Business at a popular Rhode Island donut shop surged over the weekend after the ownership said it was fed up with police injustice and would no longer offer discounts for officers or members of the military, a decision that sparked backlash from the local police department. The announcement by Allie's Donuts in North Kingstown came after a Black Providence firefighter went public with allegations he was racially profiled by police. "We're fed up," Allie's posted on the media. "Until local police takes action to solve problems with racism and injustice, Allie's Donuts will choose to stand with the people of our great state. We will no longer offer military or police discounts. Thank you for your service and shame on you for your silence." North Kingstown police called the move divisive. Let's start talking about how to lift up our community and not tear down. Police themselves aren't the problem. Racism is the problem. Posted on Facebook. On Sunday, I'm formed at Allie's, many officers holding signs that said Black Lives Matter and end police brutality. In a social media post, said he meant no disrespect in uniform. He just wanted to create equality. People in power, people with influence. Let's discuss how to fix things, he said. Okay. So, short story there. I grew up in Rhode Island. Have never eaten at this donut place, so it's probably newer. But I can tell you that donut culture in Rhode Island is alive and well. There were donut shops pretty much everywhere. So there's an awful lot out there, awful high demand for donuts. When we take a look at this lens of values, Allie's owner Matt Drescher said in a social media post he meant no disrespect to people in uniform and just wanted to create equality. Okay. Equality among who? Equality between what? I'm not sure why, given that their concern is about local police justice, as by Drescher, that he would remove the discount for the military. What has military personnel done to warrant the removal of that discount? So you may accuse me for believing that there's probably more at stake here. Why target the military? Now, the fact of the matter is Rhode Island, like many states, doesn't have a lot of veterans anymore. You know, the Naval War College is still at Newport, so there's still some naval activity that goes on in the state, but not as much as there used to be. And as the generation comprised, the draft generation to Vietnam, as they die off, what's happening is you're seeing a hollowing out of state in terms of military veterans. Across the nation, it's only about 1% of Americans have served in the United States military. So it's an odd thing to target so small of a population with such a policy, especially since it leads to the obvious question: if this is about equality and this is about police profiling, why are you not giving the military a discount? Number one, it doesn't cost you much. I can't believe there's that many veterans in the total scheme of things who go there. So why turn the military off? And I will tell you why. It is because Rhode Island has, for the entirety of my lifetime, been a one-party state. It's a Democrat state. If you belong to any other party in Rhode Island, chances are you're not going to get elected dog catcher. And there are two demographic groups who are known for not supporting that one party within the state and elsewhere. And that's United States military, and to a lesser extent veterans, but certainly for active duty military it's very true. You can look it up online. You'll see who votes how in the presidential elections and congressional elections, get a pretty good view of it. So Alley's is simply broadcasting that it is on side with the governor of Rhode Island, Gina Raimondo, and her party. And the lines that show up for donuts in a state where you have many options on donuts. You know, you got Mr. Donut, Dunkin' Donuts. I think there's 5 or 6 anyway, at least in the state. Different donut shops, multiple locations. So all of a sudden, all that donut business is coming in their doors because they have broadcast on side. Now, if your concern is equality and an end to injustice, it would seem like you might have a better manifesto prepared. You might be able to speak directly to what principles you're talking about, what values you're in place for. But try as I might, I can't see what knocking out a police discount does for equality. I suppose you could eliminate all discounts and say, well, we're making things more equal. Everyone gets charged the same. And that's fine. That's right. As a business owner, you can do whatever you want to do. But the reason that places like Alley's in the past have offered discounts to service members and to policemen in particular is to respect the risks that those groups take on our behalf. In both cases, they are risking their lives for the benefit of the community. There's also the benefit of, if you give police a discount, more police will show up. If you give the military a discount, more military will show up. And having people in your store who are trained in combat and sometimes armed really helps if you get robbed. And these places get robbed. So it's some combination of general respect for the profession along with kind of an added benefit, if you will, of having people who are trained in the use of force and who are courageous enough to take action if somebody does something stupid in your store, which leads to these discounts. When you take them away and you support rioters, you're going to get a different clientele in. Now, maybe that will give you some protection when the looting resumes. Maybe that's the play here. But I would say it just doesn't seem like it's a really deeply held principle, in that he doesn't seem to be able to even articulate it very clearly. And so that leads to some suspicion that, maybe there's kind of more going on here. But I can tell you, in the 2-minute hate that Americans in these cities now have for the police, notice there's no 2-minute hate for the politicians who actually decide these things. George Floyd's killer had been up dozens of times for police brutality. It was Democrat presidential candidate Amy Klobuchar, when she was Attorney General, who kept tossing him back without punishment. Why is no one protesting against Amy Klobuchar? The Providence Police Department is not far. Nothing in Rhode Island is very far when you get right down to it. But it's not very far from Governor Gina Raimondo's office. She's governor of the state. She has a lot of sway over that office. She's out there, no mask on, with her arms around the rioters. Why does she feel she's so safe? Why are they not taking issue with what she has done in this regard? And the answer is because she is steering them towards targets that are more suitable in her political point of view. And so the destruction of small businesses in the downtown areas of these cities, well, doesn't bother most of these politicians one bit. In fact, it's desirable because it focuses the anger of the mob somewhere else than where it ought to be focused. And that, I think, ultimately are the real values that are in display in this donut kerfuffle. Now, hopefully, the police will have the good sense to simply go to another donut shop. There are plenty of them. Go where they're welcome. And continue to fight on the force for justice under the law for every American, regardless of any contributing factor. One thing I would like to see, particularly in Rhode Island, is stop the catch and release program for political hacks who get DUIs. And if they start enforcing the law on these bureaucrats and on these politicians, perhaps, just perhaps, you'll start to see a little bit more support from them. Because they're not going to like it when they have to be treated just like everybody else. So if you really value equality, then equality under a law is what we absolutely ought to be going for. And that means no freebies for anybody under the law. That means you, Gina Raimondo, out there with your protesters without your mask on that you mandated for everybody else. How about arresting her? Wouldn't that be a nice way to send a message that we are concerned with equality and that justice is blind? Well, it might never happen because, unfortunately, the true embrace of the value of equality, especially equality under the law, doesn't seem to be very widely held, at least here. Perhaps that will change as enough people get disgusted with the hypocrisy of their leaders. Have a great day.